Y'all know what it is now. Yeah. It's time to really let them know, you know, we coming for real. Coming for real. Yeah.
Hey, you know I'm reppin' purple, gold, flick, pole, another touchdown party in the end zone. Reppin' purple, gold, flick, pole, another touchdown party in the end zone. You know, yeah, you know, yeah. Don't try to act like you don't, yeah. Hey, you know I'm on the hill, cause it's real. I done did it from the booth to the field, man, for real, I'm firm. All the way up to the ceiling, how I'm feeling. We ain't gotta talk about it, man, we live it. Let them know that we the sickest purple baby. From my head to my arms, Martin Storm coming beat, sound like a bomb. No need for no alarm. Porters all in the farm, go ask them, they know it's here from Louisiana to Dallas. H-Town to Cali, can't forget about the silk, my doggone it hit. I gotta do it for 6, or should I say landlord? Back to the band, boy. I know it's gonna turn them up, sing along with the fans, boy. Yelling, watch this. No, they can't stop this on every top list. Homecoming poppin', yeah, we cannot miss. It ain't no question, I'm a Panther. Set the boy every time that we do it, they do it. You know I'm reppin' purple, gold, quick, pole. Another touchdown party in the end zone. Reppin' purple, gold, quick, pole. Another touchdown.
Yo, what's going on? It's your boy Lionel, class of 2009, back with another episode of PV versus everybody. Listen, I apologize, okay? All right? I want to just let everybody know, you know what I'm saying? I apologize, all right? Listen, I was trying to get on a little bit earlier, you know what I mean? But then life happened, all right? A baby happened. God, listen, can't. It is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. I was trying to get on earlier, do a little show a little bit earlier in the day, because I actually think I'll have time later on this evening. But so it is what it is. All right. So again, apologize for y'all who jumped on early. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean, for the earlier show, because I want to come on earlier. But hey, listen, we here now. All right. We here now, and you know what it is, because we got an early game this week on Friday. All right, we're gonna talk about that, break some of that down. Listen, them shirts are still hanging on. That's right. You know what I'm saying? The shirt's still hanging on. All right, you know what I'm saying? Still got them. They're still fresh. All right, so the shirt's still there. Oh, like, listen, baby come first. Listen, without a doubt, hands down. Listen, Jesus, wife, baby. That's the order. All right, that just is what it is. Ain't nothing else. All right, that's what it is. Jesus, wife, baby. Okay, that's the order. In that order. All right. So yeah, I had to definitely take care of those things. But hey, she's good. That's what matters. All right. That's what matters. All right, so we're gonna get into it, man. So again, want to thank all y'all for jumping on, even y'all who jumped on early, right? You know what I'm saying? Sorry again for that, but hey, if you're not following us on Instagram or Twitter, make sure you're following us on both of those social platforms again. Because listen, try to get some good things going, have some good conversations, right, on all these different platforms, man. Just to show love and just to, you know what I'm saying, continue to keep the conversation going. So make sure you're following us on both Instagram and on our Twitter. All right. And also, listen, you know where you at right now. If you have not liked and subscribed to the channel, you know what I'm saying, listen. If you have not liked and subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and show that love, right? You know what I mean? Because listen, we are on the way. We building. All right. We done crossed the 600 mark. The next goal, 750 subs. All right, that's the next goal, right? So again, if you have not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. Show some love. Again, this last couple of weeks been tough. Been trying to get it in the midweek. All right, but I got to get some work done. I had to get some stuff together. You feel me? So, but now we back at it, right? Because we got a big game tomorrow. And again, right, want to remind you guys about if you're looking for a home, right? Because some of y'all out here, y'all ain't even got no bandwagon on. Y'all don't know where y'all at. Y'all just in between places, all right? You need a home, you need a place to stay. And if you're looking for a place and you need somebody to help you to get a loan, to jump on a bandwagon, Jeff got you, right? You know what I'm saying? He's Texas licensed loan officer with Fairway Independent Mortgage Group, and he's going to guide you seamlessly through the home buying process. See, many of us are unaware of our credit scores or really our true financial standing, but Jeff will help you to develop a step-by-step plan to help improve your financial standing, making your dream of owning a home achievable sooner than you think. He understands your financial situation may not be perfect, but look, that's okay. The sooner you start the conversation, the sooner you two can solve problems like credit issues and student loan debt. And, you know, so don't let fear, right, of achieving new heights hold you back from the home of your dreams. Perfect for growing your family or hosting a PV watch party, especially like UAPB, you know what I'm saying, on ESPN2. So get started now on taking the first steps towards your new home and taking the next big step in your life. Don't delay. Talk with Jeff today so you can be in your home tomorrow. All right, man. So again, we appreciate all y'all for jumping on. Hopefully y'all hit up my man Jeff, all right, because he can definitely help you with all of your home buying needs. I want to remind you guys that on Sundays in the evening, we got the recap show with Coach Heish Northern. We got an interesting topic for this week's Northern Lights too. All right. And if you haven't watched the show yet, right, Northern Lights, I don't know if you guys know, but up north, right, you know what I'm saying, there's some beautiful, you know what I'm saying, scenery up there, right? You know what I'm saying? God created scenery up there, man, called it Northern Lights. And so, you know, this is a chance. This is our version of Northern Lights. We take the spotlight, right, and we turn it on Coach Northern and ask him just to share some of his experience, some of his stories, right? And he's such an awesome storyteller, right? Breaks down and gives us some great behind the scenes information. And so this week, Northern Lights, y'all don't want to miss it, man. It's gonna be another good one, right? For him to storytell and break down and give us some of that swag behind the scene knowledge, right? So make sure y'all check out the recap with Coach Heish Northern. And also my man Kerry that jumps on every Sunday, you know what I'm saying, with the recap show with Heish Northern. Also, listen, let's get into it. PV Fantasy Football. All right. We ain't been here in a minute, but I know my guy's happy. I know because he ain't been on the top in a couple weeks. It's been a couple weeks since he been on the tippy toppy. But he made his way back there, right? You know what I'm saying? So shouts out to Richard Atiba, all right, class of 14. Now, I want y'all to see how close these scores were. So this one was close this past week, right, against Incarnate Word. So 44.75 points for Richard. Elvin, 44 points. Carey, 43.4. So, I mean, it was tight. It was locked in tight, right? You know what I'm saying? So that didn't change any of the leaderboard, right? You know what I'm saying? The leaderboard is still the same from this past week, right? So Atiba is still in first, Carey's in second, Brandon in third, Elvin fourth, and Jimmy is in fifth place. So again, if you're trying to get down, if you're trying to be a part of the PV Fantasy Football for this week, right, against UAPB, listen, you got to get your, you know what I'm saying, you got to get your stuff in tonight, all right, because listen, it's time, right? You know what I'm saying? Tomorrow is the game. So I'm going to drop that link in the chat. I know we have some people who've already filled it out for this week, but I'm gonna go ahead and drop that that form in the chat so you guys can go ahead, fill it out, join, right? You know what I'm saying? Come on, compete with some of the other guys, right? And see if you really know, what you're talking about, right? You know what I'm saying? So, and speaking about knowing what you're talking about, listen, your boy is also a part of a fantasy league too as well. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna share the release, you know what I'm saying, from this past week, because I finally hit that 3 score mark. I finally got the 3 digits. It's been a minute. I've been consistent though. I've been like consistently in like the 70s. All right. But boys has been definitely, you know what I'm saying, hitting them triple digits and kind of creating a little space. All right. But this week, all right, 121.7 points for Swag Talk. You know what I'm saying? C Wells over there doing his thing. 112.6 for your boy. All right. PB versus everybody. Listen, I know what I'm talking about. All right. Y'all can trust my prognostications. All right. I told y'all the swag script writers called me. Y'all listen, just keep holding on. All right. Keep hope alive. All right. She Loves the 111.5, Blue Bloods 104.9, and then HBCU Overdrive, Doc Holliday, 98 points this past week. Almost hitting that triples. And look, G got caught up with homecoming. So hey, it's nothing I can do. All right. Nothing I can do, guy. He got caught up with homecoming. He didn't get his numbers in. So it just is what it is, right? You know what I'm saying? So second place, I hated that Swag Talk kind of jumped me. You feel me? Because this was definitely supposed to be win week for me in HBCU fantasy. All right. But you know what I'm saying? Swag Talk kind of took my place there. But I'm in second place. Now, there's a little cushion that Blue got on me. All right. You know what I'm saying? He got a little cushion on me, but I'm still within striking distance. There's like 6-7 weeks left. So we still good. I'm gonna keep chipping away because I know he gonna falter. All right. I know he gonna falter. He's done it once this year. I know he gonna falter again. And when he fall, I'm gonna be there. All right. When he fall, I'm gonna be there. What's going on, Jimmy? Appreciate you for joining. Isaiah, appreciate you for joining us. You know what I'm saying? Hey, listen, it's do or die week, right? It's do or die week. All right. So let's get into it though, because I know what y'all are here for. All right. Before we get into the preview, we got HBCU top 10. This is week 6, not week 3. This is week 6. Top 10 HBCU coming into this week. Now, let's look at it. All right. So first and foremost, North Carolina A&T. All right. What they have been doing, minus Elon, right? Minus the Elon game, because even in that North Carolina game, played very well in that first half, right? First quarter, they were up on North Carolina, played very well throughout the first half. Walker Harris coming into the year, those first 3-4 games were a little shaky. Wasn't great for him, but man, over the last 2, he has been killing it, right? Norfolk State and Campbell has completely got the business by Walker Harris, and he's been getting the job done for North Carolina Central. And so North Carolina Central had to, we're 6 games into the season now. And so I had FAMU sitting at number 1 all the way up to this point. But now I think it was time to allow North Carolina Central to go ahead and get that top spot just based on how they've been playing this year, based on how they have looked against the teams they have played, right, and in the games they have played. And so I gave Central that nod in the number 1 spot. Number 2, Florida A&M. Listen, at the end of the day, again, right, they're the returning champs from last year. Obviously not the same team, but they've continued to get the job done. In those close games, Norfolk, close games, South Carolina State, this past weekend against Alabama State, it definitely was a game, right? But they were able to pull away and go ahead and secure that victory. And so you can definitely see that this is not the team that is this team isn't the same team of last year, right? But yet they still continue to get the job done, right? And especially offensively. The running game isn't the running game doesn't pop off, right? But they chip away from the running game, right? And then that helps them to open up the passing game, especially when you talk about midfield, because Daniel Richardson loves to use those tight ends, man, and they use them very, very well, right? And so they were able to get the job done against the Alabama State team that has a stout defense, right? But still is trying to figure out if they can grind games and win games by simply just running the ball, because that's all they've been able to do so far, right? And so they weren't able to get the job done, but Florida A&M got them at number 2. Number 3, South Carolina State. Listen, big win against Tennessee Tech. This is a team that in Tennessee Tech that beat Tennessee State earlier this season in order to take that conference win. And so for South Carolina State to be able to actually get over this hump and win this game. And now listen, if you look at the stats of this game, it's almost as if South Carolina State should have really won that game by 2-3 touchdowns, right? Eric Phoenix has been amazing. I mean, if you say that Daniel Richardson has been the best quarterback in HBCU football, I think right now, right, you know what I'm saying, you probably got to say Eric Phoenix is probably that 2 and 3 spot with him and Walker Harris as that top 3 of quarterbacks in HBCU football right now. He's been balling, right? Caden Hyde, Justin Brown, 2 big receivers that's coming alongside of him, right? And so that offense has really been clicking for Chennisberry. And so they look like a team that also has a shot, right, to really get the job done and have a chance to vie for, a MEAC championship. I mean, if you're talking about 1 and 2 right now in the MEAC, it's North Carolina Central and it's South Carolina State. That point blank period. Those are the 2 teams in the MEAC that's getting the job done, right? So South Carolina State is solidly, right, to me, in that number 3 spot. Now, number 4, I got Tennessee State. Now, I think South Carolina State would be the 3rd best team in the SWAC. Ooh. I don't know. I will put them number 2. I would have South Carolina State 2nd. I think South Carolina State would be solidly the 2nd best team in the SWAC, right behind FAMU, right? I think they've been that solid so far. That's my personal preference. Obviously, 2, 3, I mean, it is what it is, right? But I don't think Jackson has played better than South Carolina State. Jackson also has not played better competition than South Carolina State, right? So South Carolina State has also gone up against higher caliber, right, FCS programs than Jackson has played, right? Citadel's not a great program, but Citadel versus Lane. I mean, come on, right? A Tennessee Tech versus Southern for out of conference, for example, right? Because Jackson plays Southern out of conference. Tennessee Tech is a better team. So when I look at what South Carolina State has faced, I got to give them the edge, right? You know what I'm saying? So far, if they was in the SWAC, I would have them as the 2nd best team, but 2, 3, whatever, right? Tennessee State got them in the 4th spot, right? Right now they're 2-1 in that OVC Big South Conference, right? So they're still within striking distance. Tennessee State has both of the 2 teams that they're supposed to finish 1 and 2 over the next 2 games. They could easily drop multiple of those games. So Tennessee State still has the conference championship in front of them. They still got a chance. They got to get the job done. As we've seen in that conference, right, it's been a knockout, drag-out fight, right? Even with Lindenwood, a 24-20 game. So Tennessee State is gonna have to continue to grind out victories. It doesn't look like these teams are going to allow Draylon Ellis to throw the ball all over the field and just put up a gargantuan amount of yards through the air. So Tennessee State is going to have to learn how to continue to grind out victories in this conference and just get the job done week in and week out. So I believe they got Charleston. They got Charleston Southern, I believe, coming up this week, I believe. But hey, they still got everything in front of them. So I got them at number 4. Number 5, Hampton. Now, Hampton had a big loss this other week, right? But Hampton is able to handle Howard. Hampton has been able to handle, Norfolk. Hampton just was in a game, went to overtime with a Rhode Island, right? Who again, right? Coming into that game, most of us, I believe, that Rhode Island would handle them pretty solidly, right? And so Hampton is showing that, hey, we can play with these CAA teams, and hopefully, right, there's a couple other games they have in there that they believe like, hey, they can get over the hump and win those games. And so it's kind of hard to judge the 3 independent teams because obviously they don't play the same similar schedule as SWAC and MEAC schools, because that competition in CA is a little bit stiffer, right? And so I am giving them a little bit of a nod because of that, right? But I've liked what I've seen from them so far. They've been able to handle their business, right? When you talk about in the HBCU world, and now, right, being able to have a fight like that against Rhode Island. So I'm excited to see what Hampton does this upcoming week. Number 6. Jackson State. Now, they did drop a game to Grambling. So it's interesting for this last half of this top 10 because these teams have basically fallen to one another, right? And so Jackson did have that loss to Grambling. But listen, 5 turnovers in that game. really outgaining Grambling, right? So it didn't look as if it's a game that really, when you look back on it, that if you could play that over again, if Jackson can hold on to the ball, you really give them a chance to win that game. And then also, when you look at kind of what they're doing, running the ball, Jacoby Morgan is looking really good, right? Running the offense, right? And so, hey, you got to say them putting up 45 against Alabama A&M, up 38-10 at halftime, up 45-17, right? Late in the third. So, I mean, even though Alabama A&M did kind of blitz back, you definitely don't want any momentum like that, right? But at the end of the day, they really handled that game solidly, right? And so I'm not looking at them differently because the game ended 45-38. They handled their business down in Mobile, and so I got Jackson sitting at number 6 right now, with another big game coming up, not this weekend, but next weekend, really, which is for the marbles of the East right now, against Florida A&M. After that, I got Southern, right? I got Southern, not because Southern looked great. They obviously looked really bad against Nichols, 51-7 game. But listen, Southern has a win over Prairie View. Southern right now is in the number 1 spot in the West. So this is really not necessarily because of how they've looked per se, just based on they're head to head against other teams in the SWAC West. They have another game this weekend against Texas Southern. Texas Southern has dropped out of my top 10 again, right? They have not looked good over the past couple of weeks. Now they've lost some major pieces at the end of the day, right? On defense, they lost some pieces now for the year. On offense, they lost KJ Cooper for the year. Like, they're kind of reeling right now. It just is what it is. Unfortunately, a team that after beating Prairie View look and say, man, with kind of how Coach Disman has them from a discipline standpoint, and kind of just knowing what their identity is, and we're gonna play defense right, and we're gonna grind it out, on the ground. But man, if you don't have a quarterback that can do anything through the air, it's going to be trouble. And they don't have a defense like Alabama State. So that's why I dropped Texas Southern out of my top 10. Got Southern here. And listen, they can solidify themselves to be in the top 10 by going ahead and taking care of Texas Southern, right, this weekend. Now, I think Texas Southern's going to win that game, though, right? I think Texas Southern's going to really grind it out and win that game. I think they're stout on the offensive line. I think they do got 2 running backs that can get the job done with the freshmen, and also with Quentin Quinn. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, though, because I think Southern also has the running backs. And so it's really going to determine, like, which offensive line controls the line of scrimmage. I'll probably say it's going to win this game, but I got Southern at 7. 8, I got Prairie View A&M. Now, Prairie View is only 1-2 in the SWAC West, right? But they do have the victory over Grambling last week, right? Again, Texas Southern has dropped out of my top 10. And so I have this team sitting at 1-2. Listen, they got the game tomorrow against UAPB. They got to get the job done, right? If they can win that game, they really got 3 weeks then after that you really got, you got the bye week, right? You know what I'm saying? You got homecoming with Texas A&M Commerce, and then you got Mississippi Valley, right? And so if they can get past this game tomorrow, you really got another 2 weeks. And then by the time you see Valley, and then after that, you got A&M, Florida A&M, you're really probably looking at a whole different, the West completely different at that time, right? Because Alcorn got Grambling, then Alcorn got Southern got Texas Southern, then Texas Southern goes through the gamut of Southern, and then inviting, I think, Southern. They got Southern, then the Grambling at one point in time, and then they also got Florida A&M, right? So Texas Southern could be in a whole different spot too. So in 3 weeks, the West could be completely different and look completely different. The team that probably will jump the highest, right, after this weekend, depending on the result, is Alcorn, because I think right now Alcorn has the potential to be, based on what their schedule and their layout is, right, everything is still in front of them. They're 2-0 right now, conference, only 6 conference games left. If they get past Grambling, right, if they get past Grambling in the hole this weekend, which, again, I'm actually picking them to get past Grambling, man, they're going to jump all these teams, right? I mean, they'll be probably solidly behind Jackson State in the 7th spot, because at the end of the day, going in the hole and beating Grambling, I mean, that's showing that you can get the job done. And obviously your offense has made some moves then, right, too, as well, because right now they're really getting the job done on the ground. And also, listen, Xavier Vaughn, he's getting the job done on the ground. he's super dynamic with his legs, right? So number 9 got Alabama State, right? Even though they lost to Florida A&M, they've been solid. They know what their identity is. Again, they obviously you want to get that victory. I know that they, missing those field goals, especially early on, really, I think, kills your momentum, right? Because you kind of can get up. They also had a chance, man, on one play, a swing pass, really catching the interception that could have gave them the ball like inside the 10, right? So I know they probably look back and say, man, there was some opportunities right there to make this game the game we wanted to make it, but just couldn't get over the hump, just couldn't get enough plays in their favor to win that game. But still a solid team, man, and I think a team that can still challenge a lot of the teams they play throughout the rest of the year. So it's going to be interesting to see how this freshman quarterback Sims grows over the course of the year and what they can implement from an offensive standpoint to kind of get the ball outside to some of their playmakers at the wide receiver position, so that now they can add that element to their game. But I got them as number 9. Number 10, I got Grambling. And really was Grambling and Alcorn. Was kind of back and forth between Grambling and Alcorn. But I think right now, based on Grambling beating Jackson State and kind of what we've seen Alcorn, they beat UAPB, they beat Valley, right? But they haven't shown it against another team yet, right? Obviously, we know what happened with the McNeese game, and then they got the 2 big FBS games, right? So I gave the nod to Grambling because hey, listen, the win over Jackson, the win over Texas A&M Commerce. At the end of the day, I had to give it. I gave them the nod over Alcorn, but Alcorn will be my next right there on the 11. But like I say, if Alcorn wins, their jump is going to be tremendous because at the end of the day, they're going to be 3-0 in conference with a win over Grambling in the hole, right? That's going to be huge. It's going to be major. So Grambling's my number 10 spot. So it's going to be interesting because this week, this is definitely going to get shaken up based on the games being played, right? You also got Alabama A&M playing Bethune-Cookman this weekend, so that's going to be a great game as well. So one of those teams is going to get off the snide and give themselves a chance to really continue to be that team that people say, hey, have a chance to kind of be a sleeper. Not a sleeper to win the East, right, but maybe to kind of catch one of these teams. But yeah, that's my HBCU top 10 this week, man. Listen, what do y'all got? Do y'all got anything? Put it down low, put it in the comments. You're right. Alcorn is definitely number 1 in the SWAC West. You're correct. They're number 1. Southern is number 2. You are spot on. You're correct about that, right? But I gave Southern a nod based on them beating Prairie View because Alcorn has only done it against UAPB and Valley so far, right? And they also didn't look good at all against McNeese. Not that Southern looked good against Nichols, right? But that's the reason I gave them a nod, right? It's just because I think the quality win that Southern had is better than the 2 wins that Alcorn had so far. Well, that was my reasoning. Let's see. South Carolina State would be second best team in the SWAC, not third. Jack State has yet to beat a team with the winning record under TC Taylor. Wow. Is that so they've yet to beat a team. Is that in the first 2 years? Let me know that in the comments, Mr. Rodney. Is that in the first 2 years that TC Taylor has not beat a team over 500? I mean, with a winning record. That's pretty crazy, actually. Hampton could get 6 wins, losing record North Carolina A&T, losing record Elon 1-4, and losing record Towson. Hey, all CAE squads that they can get this year. So I'm definitely looking at Hampton finishing somewhere in the middle of the pack. And again, you gotta build, man. You gotta build, right? You know what I'm saying? You need to be building step by step in order to have a shot, just like how Tennessee State has been building. Jackson State could go 9-3, and beat 0 teams with winning records. That's crazy. Yeah, that's how weak the SWAC is, right? And we talked about that this past Sunday with Coach Northern, man. With the South versus Southland. I mean, SWAC versus Southland. So, we just got to do better, man. We got to play better football. And right now, good football is not being played across the SWAC. Jimmy said got PV listed too high. Would you have us out the top 10? You know what I'm saying? Hey, listen, I don't got no problem with that. We've not done what we're supposed to do in these first 6 games to show that we need to be anywhere, right? You know what I'm saying? So I'm just basing it on what we've seen. I think all these teams probably 7 down, right, are all kind of just jumbled up and haven't really done enough to solidify them in any way, right? You know what I'm saying? So that's on. Yeah, that's true. That's on their schedule. Nah, it ain't gonna be funny, PZ. That's not gonna be funny. That's not a laughing matter, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, Gatorade need to roll, all right, if that happened. You know what I'm saying? So Jimmy say drop us our top 10. Yeah, listen, I wouldn't have a problem if we dropped out our top 10 and you got Alcorn in the top 10, right? Like I say, the only reason I got Alcorn in there instead of like Southern or Alabama State is just because I think the quality wins that those teams have are better than the quality win against UAPB and Valley. That's really and I mean, Edward Waters, I'm obviously not counting that, right? You know what I'm saying? That's really the only reason that I don't have them in the top 10, right? But like I say, I think they're going to be Grambling this weekend anyway. So next week, they'll definitely probably be listed number 7, all right? Because they got the highest chance to make the highest jump based on the games this weekend. So that just is what it is. But yeah, listen, that ain't going to be funny. That's not going to be funny. Who laughing at that? It's not a laughing matter. It's not a laughing matter. All right. We won't laugh at stuff like that. All right. That's tragedy. Listen, we gotta bury an era. All right. If that happened. All right. We gotta bury an era. All right. So with that said, man, listen, let's get into it. We got Title Pie for this week. All right. We're talking about Title Pie. Now, if you want to call in, 516-253-3434, 516-253-3434. You guys can go ahead and call in. I can get you up. You guys want to share your thoughts, you know what I'm saying, on what you're hearing, you know what I'm saying. But I know y'all agree with the top 10 anyway, you know what I'm saying. That's just for show. That's just for show. But let's get into Title Pie. All right, listen, starting off with the biggest slice of Title Pie this week. All right. Starting off, listen, I gotta give FAMU their slice. Listen, they've taken care of one of the 2 teams that could have potentially got a slice. Now, after Andrew Body got hurt, Alabama State, they whole portion went away anyway, and that portion got split up between Jackson State and FAMU in the first place. Because I was dumb after that, because I knew, like, listen, they ain't got no chance of winning the East if Andrew Body ain't the quarterback. It's not happening, right? So I just took their whole slice away, all right, and I just split it up between you. I was like, listen, you did what? I was like, you just like a bad student, all right, you don't get to eat no dessert, all right, we're going to get your dessert to Jackson State and FAMU, all right, you don't got no dessert no more, okay? So I took their dessert away. So I did have previously 15% for Jackson, 15% for FAMU, right? But now I have FAMU with 20% on Title Pie. Now you got to understand what Title Pie, you got to understand how Title Pie works, right? The swag has 2 steps to their Title Pie, right? So that's why you got to understand how the percentages can be different like this. See, in the MEAC, you got 5 games to get to Title Pie, right? 5 games to get to the Celebration Bowl and then to win it, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's a little different in the SWAC when you got 2 steps. You got to win your division, then win SWAC and get to the Celebration Bowl and win it, right? So now I got FAMU at 20%, right? Obviously, we don't got to say nothing, no conversation, right? They've got the job done so far. One of 2 of the games that they have and they have to worry about on the east side of things is completely over with, right? You know what I'm saying? Alabama State, that's done, which I knew that was done when Andrew Body went out. But anyway, you still got to play the game, right? So play the game, they got it over with, it's done, right? The next one they got is Jackson State. Listen, if they win the next one, I mean, essentially, they're going to take the lion's share of the percentage, because that means they're going to win the East, right? And that's just going to be a whatever sliver that the West teams are going to get, that's just what they're going to get, right? Because they got a chance just by the fact that they in the championship game, right? But they're going to take the lion's share of the slice, right? So FAMU right now, 20%. I also got North Carolina Central at 20%. Now, listen, North Carolina Central is playing great right now, right? You know what I'm saying? They're playing amazing. Walker Harris is finding his stride. Again, the first couple games, he was shaky. Now he's finding his stride, really finding his stride, man. Campbell and Norfolk State, I mean, massacred, okay? So now he get a chance. I think they got 1 week left before they really go into, you know what I'm saying, they really get into conference play. They already dealt with Norfolk. They only got 4 MEAC games left. It's going to be interesting. Now, South Carolina State and North Carolina Central game is going to be massive, okay? Because this is probably the MEAC championship game. Both of these teams have been playing really well. South Carolina State also has an offense that can go toe-to-toe with North Carolina Central, I believe, right? I believe they have a running back room that can go toe-to-toe with Jamari Taylor. I believe they got a wide receiver room that may be better than the wide receiver room at North Carolina Central. And so that's going to be the MEAC championship game. So I got South Carolina State third, right, at 15% of title pie. Because, listen, right now, you're picking South Carolina State over Howard. You're picking South Carolina State over Morgan. You're picking South Carolina State over Norfolk. I mean, you're picking South Carolina State over anyone else they have to face in the MEAC, probably except North Carolina Central. So I got to have them at 15%, right? Now, moving forward, we got Jackson State and I got Grambling State at 10%. Now, let me go Jackson State first. Now, you got to understand Jackson State, no matter how they looked against Grambling, listen, that's a non-conference game. It's a conference, non-conference game. It is what it is, right? So Jackson State is 1-0 in the SWAC. That's what they are. They are 1-0. They beat Texas Southern, and they handled them decidedly, right? So now Jackson has a chance now to rest this week, get prepared. I mean, FAMU and Jackson got 2 weeks to prepare for each other. If this ain't the best game from a coaching standpoint that we've seen in the middle of the year in the SWAC in a while, I mean, what else can we get, right? Because both TC Taylor and James Cozy get 2 weeks to prepare for the game that is the game of the year. That's just the reality, right? So Jackson has everything still in front of them. Now, I give them 10% simply because they have not looked as good as Florida A&M has looked. Not to say Florida A&M has looked flawless, right? But I think Jackson definitely has. We have seen Jackson look more shaky at times than FAMU has, for sure, without a doubt. So can Jackson establish the run game? Can they control the line of scrimmage? They believe they can. And when they look at FAMU and what FAMU has allowed on the ground in multiple games this year, I think Jackson is happy to say, man, we got a Terrell, we got, you know what I'm saying? We got Mulligan, right? I mean, we got multiple guys, right, that we believe in our backfield can get the job done, and we can mix it up. And I think they believe that they also can make a little noise through the air as well with the receiver and the tight ends that they have. Now, Jackson's strength is really, hey, listen, going over top, right? You know what I'm saying? Jamari Gassett, right? Obviously, the tight ends that we talked about again, Kobe Gross, who, hey, listen, I appreciate you, my guy, because, listen, you helped me out in the fantasy league on multiple occasions. I appreciate you, all right? So, FAMU is through the air, and Jackson is probably, that's the weakest unit on their defense, is their secondary. So, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how this game transpires, and I think it's going to be interesting to see who gets out early, right? FAMU has had a couple starts to games that have been slow. I think if FAMU starts out slow in the first and second quarter in this game, I don't think Jackson allows them to come back like we saw with games against Norfolk and South Carolina State. Now, this ain't the preview, right? You know what I'm saying? This is title pie, right? Preview going to be next week, all right? We got this Sunday coming up. Make sure y'all check it out with Coach Northern. We're going to talk to him about it. But all I'm trying to say is Jackson has still got everything in front of them. They're 1-0 conference with their biggest game coming up. That percentage is just smaller because I think they have not looked as great as FAMU has looked. Now, next up, right, Grambling State. Now, you may be saying, how in the world, right? You know what I'm saying? Jimmy said, got to give FAMU credit. How in the world, right? You know what I'm saying? Does Grambling have 10% when Grambling is 0-1 and they lost to Prairie View? I'm happy that you asked the question. I'm happy that you asked because I know that you're thinking it, right? You know what I'm saying? So really done thoughts of percentages. Listen, my grandmother was a math teacher, okay? So I'm the one who was in the summertime, right? We had math books, the real ones, right, that you had to write in. She gave me the math books in the summer, and I had to complete the math books throughout the summer. And this is like summertime with no school, okay? So she was like, no, you're going to do some math work, okay, throughout the summer. So yeah, the math be mathing sometimes, okay, because that's how I grew up, all right? Appreciate you, Mamu, all right? But listen, Grambling is at 10% because at the end of the day, Grambling is 0-1 with 7 conference games left. And the reality is, listen, if they win the 7 conference games, they win the SWAC West. All right. That's the reality of the situation. Everything is still in front of Grambling, right? It doesn't matter that they lost to Prairie View. Prairie View has 2 losses, right? Prairie View has 2 losses, and Prairie View still has Alabama State on the schedule, and they still have FAMU from the East on the schedule, right? So PV, we have to get over both of those humps, right, to really give us a chance to actually have a chance to win the West. That's really the reality of the situation. And so Grambling has a 1-game lead really on Prairie View. They also have Texas Southern and Southern still in front of them. Alcorn still in front of them. So Grambling can take care of business on their own and don't need help from nobody, right? Now, will they do that? That's a different conversation. That's a different conversation because I don't think it's gonna happen. Because I think Grambling is worse than the mirage that we have seen in the first couple of weeks. But hey, listen, we got to just see what happens, right? The team I'm actually, if you want to really know how I feel, the team I'm really worried about right now is Alcorn. Actually, now they looked however they looked offensively in the first couple of weeks, but I don't care. All right, they have a quarterback that can beat you with his legs. So even if the passing game ain't working, listen, if you ain't sound on defense, hey man, the guy gonna kill you. Hey, 3rd and 12, it don't matter. 12 yards eaten up. All right. So that's the team I'm worried about the most, because if they can get anything in the passing game, they're gonna really start to be trouble. So that's the team I'm worried about the most. But Grambling has the better chance, right? This title pie. We're talking about percentages, chances. Grambling 10%, man. So I got Grambling sitting at 10%. Howard, Texas Southern, and Alcorn all at 5%, right? So I got all of them sitting at 5% just because, listen, Howard, of course, you know what I'm saying, they still got an opportunity. They're in the MEAC, right? They haven't looked as great throughout this year, but listen, all 5 of their conference games are all in front of them. So that's without being said. Texas Southern, they are 0-1 in conference, but listen, they are 1-1 in conference, sorry, right? They lost to Jackson, but listen, they beat Prairie View. They got over that hump. They still got Graham, Southern in front of them, Alcorn in front of them. So again, similar to Grambling, everything is in front of them as well if they win out. So, but they just haven't looked as great, right? You know what I'm saying? They have no passing game at all right now. Southern is the same thing, right? Everything's in front of them. Haven't looked great, but same boat as Texas Southern. We're gonna see what happens with both of them this weekend. And then Prairie View and Morgan State, 2.5%. All right. Morgan offense has just let me down. All right. They've let me down all year. So that just is what it is, right? And PV is sitting at 1-2 in conference. So the reality with Prairie View is Prairie View needs to win out. That's really the only chance they have to win the conference, because I don't see Grambling losing 2 games, which is to me, that's the team you worry about, right? I don't see them losing 2 games, right? So Prairie View has to win out. I mean, you can't lose to Alcorn or UAPB or anybody on your side, because that just kills you, right? And if you lose to Alabama State or FAMU, right, do other teams lose 3 games or 3+ games? It just ain't happening, right? So you still got a chance, you still got a shot, right? But you got to win out, right? And that becomes trouble because you still have to play FAMU and Alabama State in order to get that job done. So with that being said, man, listen, that's title pie. Now, I don't know if y'all are math majors out there, engineers, but if anybody feels has an issue with the pie and with the percentages, hey, this is the time to let me know. You know what I'm saying? Kate, he say bad math. All right. What's wrong with the math? All right. What's wrong with the math? So they had it on their mind when scheduled the game. It's the first 2 seasons for Tisa Taylor be 0 teams with winning records. Last season lost to winning record teams, FAMU, Alabama State, Alcorn. This season lost to Grambling. Hey, listen, I can't say nothing about that, right? That's a very, very good point you're making right there, right? With that being said, basically, Rodney, you're basically saying that Jackson State is going to lose to FAMU then. That's essentially what we're saying. Because FAMU got to win a record. So we basically can just go ahead and nip that in the bud. Jackson State is not 2-0 in the SWAC, right? Jackson State has only played 1 conference game so far. All right. Southern and Grambling State were both non-conference games. So neither one of those counted for SWAC conference games. So Jackson is 1-0. Their only conference wins against Texas Southern. Alcorn is 2-0 though. So Alcorn is definitely 2-0. But listen, I told y'all what I told y'all, right? The same thing with Alcorn percentages, just because Alcorn has in the back of their schedule, they have Prairie View, they have Alabama State, and they have Jackson State, right? That's why I have them at the same percentage as Texas Southern and Southern, because they got a tough schedule. And really up to this point, you're starting to believe that they can get the job out. I'm starting to believe that they can get the job done offensively. I don't know how everybody else is feeling, right? But up to this point, you felt that they couldn't do that, right? You know what I'm saying? They couldn't get the job done. So I'm just not putting as much weight, exactly, right? I'm just not putting them. Oh yeah, you're right. I forgot about the A&M game. You're right. You're correct. They just played this past weekend, so they're 2-0. You're correct. I did forget about the fact that I'm saying I'm not putting as much credence on these two games, right? You know what I'm saying? Valley and UAPB. That's really the reality of the situation, right? When it comes to Alcorn. But now, like I say, if I had to choose a team right now, I would choose Alcorn. I ain't gonna lie, right? You know what I'm saying? That's the team I would choose. I think right now, with what Xavier Vaughn has been able to add on the ground for them, at the end of the day, not doing it through the air really, but what he's been able to add on the ground has been tremendous. So if they can figure out how to tweak and get him to get the ball to playmakers out wide, yeah, that's gonna be interesting. You know what I'm saying? That's gonna be really interesting. So, but we'll see. Yeah, so Jackson State 2-0 right now in conference, FAMU 1-0, and then Alcorn 2-0 on the West, Southern 1-0. So this weekend is going to be interesting, right? Because you got Southern, Texas Southern, you know what I'm saying? So that's going to be an interesting game out here in Houston, and we're going to see what gets done. So with that being said, man, we got the preview of the PV UAPB game. You know what I'm saying? I think Alcorn definitely going to get tested this week, but I think Grambling gonna get just as tested, right? You know what I'm saying? I think Grambling gonna get just as tested. Yeah, I don't know, man. Grambling got a shot. They just got a shot because of their schedule, right? Grambling's schedule is amazing this year. That's just the reality, right? But I don't like Grambling. I don't think Grambling got it, to be honest. Offensively, I don't think Grambling is good. And I think defensively, they've just taken advantage of turnovers, right? But you look back, Grambling defensively has not really necessarily stopped people, right? They've just been able to turn people over. That Texas A&M Commerce game, I almost hate to say they turn people over, because they literally were throwing the ball straight to Grambling. It was crazy. Like, I watched that second half. It was crazy. I'm like, who are you throwing the ball to? It literally makes. Did you see the overtime throw? Did y'all see the throw in overtime? Bro, you ain't got no receiver there. And he didn't even throw it like he thought to throw it away or throw it on the ground. The Grambling cornerback ain't even move. It was crazy. So, we got to see what Grambling can be when they got to play full games, 100 yards, right? Not short fields. And maybe it's sustainable that they can't keep turning some guys over, right, late into the season. I just don't see it happening, right? So I really think Grambling's going to drop more games, right? That's just the reality. I think Grambling is going to drop game. I think Grambling is going to lose to A&M. I think Grambling is going to lose to Alcorn. So I think they're going to drop multiple games. So, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm late but early. Jared, man, I appreciate you. Listen, I apologized earlier because I was trying to come on earlier, man. Life start lifing. Had to take care of baby girl. Alcorn game gonna be tough for everybody. Yeah, the fact that, listen, he scares me with his legs. I ain't gonna lie, because I can see myself being frustrated multiple times in that game, because it's like, dude, we just had them at 3rd and 15, and you let the dude run 17 yards for a first down. Because like that's something that I could see us doing, right? So that's why I'm kind of weary of Alcorn right now. I ain't gonna lie, I'm kind of weary of them right now. But let's get into this UAPB matchup. Obviously, the game's gonna be tomorrow, 8:15 Central Time, right, on ESPN2. Now, it's dope. First of all, let's talk about it. It's dope that ESPN has flexed 2 games, because to realize this game was supposed to be an ESPNU game, and it's now flexed up to an ESPN2 game. And reality is, right, between a team that's 2-4, even though they're the Turner West Side champions, division champions, right? They're 2-4, and another team that's 1-4 in the SWAC. Like, that's dope. An ESPN2 game on Friday, SWAC schools, that's great national exposure, etc. And the fact that Jackson and FAMU has been flexed from ESPN Plus to ESPNU game, right? And so I know right now there's a lot of stuff going on with the NCAA and a lot of things is changing. I think the reality is, right, if these top schools break away from the NCAA, if they become, that whatever the Rudy, same thing that they're trying to put together with the 70 schools, listen, I think it makes HBCUs even more valuable because the reality is, though, HBCUs get eyes on their product. Now, obviously, some games are different than others. Obviously, a State Fair Classic is going to get more eyes than Prairie View versus UAPB. But I know the reality is that Prairie View versus UAPB will get more eyes than Eastern Illinois versus Charleston Southern. Like HBCUs could do some TV numbers. So I'm like, it could actually make HBCUs more valuable to the NCAA, to their partners, right? Like an ESPN, to finally give us an opportunity to actually be real partners when it comes to, some of these TV and media deals than just being tucked away on a pay-per-view ESPN Plus, right? Which, hey, I'm happy that I can go find all the SWAC games there, all the MEAC games there. So listen, that's good in and of itself. But the fact is, right, like we bring eyes. I mean, even though North Carolina Central and Alabama State didn't have people in the seats as much as they would desire, right, for the Orange Blossom Classic, of course, that's going to be tougher. We don't have a Florida school there. You don't have Bethune-Cookman or Florida A&M, right? But the reality is, like, you still have over 500,000 people watching that game, though. Like, that's big. I mean, you got to think about that in terms of some of the other college football games that go on. The MAC don't do those numbers, right? There's Conference USA games that be on like Thursdays. They don't get those numbers. So the truth is, HBCUs could be more valuable if this shakeup happens and they break away and create their own, which they're already doing anyway, right? Then HBCUs could have an opportunity to really step up and fill a lot of voids for a lot of media partners, right? Because the reality is we are in major markets throughout the South, right? And we bring eyes. We got a built-in audience already. This is the reality to the situation. So anyway, I just think that, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. I think the numbers do really, really well. And I just think it's going to that could actually make us more valuable. Obviously, we have to do good business to take advantage of it. But the opportunity, I think, is there. You know what I'm saying? HBCUs aren't one and should never operate as one. SWAC is their own brand, study SEC, and model itself after successful business. So, yeah, I mean, I think for sure it's not necessarily, I mean, each conference has to definitely do what's best for each conference, right? You know what I'm saying? But I really think that the SWAC has the ability to really do something special from a TV media standpoint, especially with what's going down in all the movement right now. Like this is an opportunity, and I hope we take advantage. Because, I mean, you think about infusing $5 million a year per school throughout the SWAC. You think about Valley getting $5 million per year just because of a TV deal, what that could do for Valley in athletics, man, that's crazy. So anyway, hey, listen, I'm all for it. Listen, I'm all for it. I just think it's an opportunity, period. Whichever way we want to go about it, as long as it maximizes the dollars that come back in, I'm cool. But let's talk about this game, PV versus UAPB, right? You know what I'm saying? First and foremost, when we talk about Arkansas Pine Bluff right now, from an offensive standpoint, these guys have played 6 games. They're averaging 29 points per game. They've had 24 touchdowns, only 2 field goals, 174 points total. And so, these guys know how to put, the ball in the end zone for sure. This is something that for sure PV in the first couple of games that it was a struggle for us is getting the ball in the end zone. We've gotten to the red zone a lot, but getting the ball in the end zone has been tough. Right now, PV averaging 22.3 points a game, 15 touchdowns, and 9 field goals. Again, a lot of those field goals are because, we got stagnated in the red zone and had to kick. Points, 134 points total. Right now on defense, Arkansas Pine Bluff is giving up 40.5 points per game. And obviously, they played Arkansas, saying on their schedule, right? So they had a game against a big SEC power. But, they also just gave up 38 points to Alcorn State, right? So 40.5 points per game, 33 touchdowns, 4 field goals given up. Prairie View right now giving up 36.5 points per game, right? And so that's 27 touchdowns, 10 field goals. And then we talk about, when you look at the rushing totals, I think this is something that's going to be interesting in this game upcoming. Right now, Arkansas Pine Bluff is averaging 105.2 points, 0.2 yards per game rushing the ball. Prairie View only averaging 89.3 rushing yards per game. I mean, completely different than what we've seen on the last couple of years. When you talk about the running attack that PV had, obviously, when you talk about this offensive line, it's a completely new offensive line, 5 new guys. Last year, you had 5 seniors on the offensive line, left to the right? And so, you're going to have some kinks you got to work out, but I don't think that anybody would think that it would be this amount of kinks to be worked out from the offensive line. But now you go up against the Arkansas Pine Bluff team that on defense is giving up 247.5 yards per game on the ground, right? 6.1 yards per carry on average, right? And they've given up 24 rushing touchdowns. So now you talk about a team that, hey, hasn't run the ball well, going up against a team that has allowed teams to run the ball well. How this falls, right, to me this is going to determine a lot, right? If Arkansas Pine Bluff keeps PV to the minimum, right, talking maybe 120 yards or less on the ground, Arkansas Pine Bluff is probably going to be in this game, right? And have a chance to win it. That I don't think it means they won it per se, but I think it definitely bodes well for them if you have kept Prairie View to not be able to run the ball efficiently, right? Because you look at what Alcorn's able to do, and now they did it with their QB's legs, and they did it with the running back, right? Had a running back Sewell go over 100 yards, and obviously the Xavier Vaughn went over 100 yards, right? And with a couple other people popping in there. So if you have Jaden Johnson now, who obviously we've seen, he can be a little bit better and more dynamic with his legs on the ground. And so obviously I know when PV looks at that, they'll probably say, hey, we want to definitely, probably design a few design QB runs. But again, what really killed UAPB was the scrambling ability of Xavier Vaughn, right? And them giving up yards in the scramble game. And I think Jaden Johnson, that shows that he has the ability to do that as well, right? You've seen it on a couple plays in UIW game, obviously in the Grambling game as well. And so this is a game that, you might see him, because of what Arkansas Pine Bluff is showing you on film, that he might take off a little bit more than he has in this past game and a half, right, and eat up some yards on the ground, which helps and adds to your run game and your rushing total, right? Because again, if you got to keep a guy in there to kind of keep a spy on him, that's gonna open up some more stuff down the field, right? May give you some more one-on-ones with your wide receivers out wide. And obviously, we've been saying that PV has the dynamic wide receivers to get the job done there. So when you talk about the passing game, this is where Arkansas Pine Bluff, right, has have had an edge with Makai Hagans, right? 243.7 yards a game through the air. He 84 for 171 with 13 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions, right? So now percentage-wise, that's 49%, so less than 50%. But what's interesting is, right, 1 of 3 completions goes to Javonni Gibson. All right, that's the reality. That guy getting 1 out of 3 receptions. And this is the matter. This is going to determine it. Do you shut down that guy or not? Do you make Hagans beat you with somebody else, right? Coach Hampton say they got other players. This is the game PV need to find out if they got other players. Because one thing that need to happen is Javonni Gibson don't need to beat you. Because the reality is they was up 14-0 because of Hagans to Javonni Gibson over Alcorn. That's the reality, right? Period. So you need to know where that guy is at all times, all right? And you just need to take him away. All right. Listen, you're gonna beat us, you gotta beat us somewhere else. And it ain't gonna be with that guy, all right? Because that's really the guy that they go to, right? Giovanni Gibson has been killing it. And first of all, shouts out to you, my man, because obviously you've been dope for my HBCU fantasy team. But obviously I ain't picking you this week because it's not happening. All right. So anyway, what they do with Giovanni Gibson, man, and how they handle that. And that's one thing I asked Coach Bubba this past week at the coaches call on this past Monday. Hey, listen, man, how you gonna stop that guy? Because you can't let 1 to 2 beat you at the end of the day. So hopefully we got a plan, right, to get it done, but we got to figure something out. Prairie View right now on the year, 199.5 yards through the air, 52.7 completion percentage. That's 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Now, the most beneficial thing about Jaden Johnson so far this year has been the fact that he has not turned the ball over. He really hasn't put the ball in harm's way at all, right? He has definitely made the right checks. He's definitely made the right reads. And so he has shown in this game and a half that he can be a guy that can get the job done. So I'm interested to see him now in his first full SWAT game, to see how he runs the offense for a full game. Obviously, in the Grambling game, he ran the offense good enough, right, for 27 points, right? You know what I'm saying? Listen, 29 points, right? It's a 36-34 game. So he came in the second half. We only had 7 points in the first half. He came in and led us to score 29 points through the second half and in overtime. Obviously, 17 points during the third or fourth quarter, and then obviously the rest of the points, of course, in overtime. But if he can do that right with Grambling in that period of time, I'm going to be interested to see how he handles UAPB over this course of a whole game. And I think obviously he can get the job done. And it's going to be good. You got this game, you get an off week, then you get Texas A&M Commerce, and even after that, you get Valley, right? So this is a great 3-game stretch. Now, we need to win this game against UAPB. They're dangerous on the offensive side. Defensive, they don't make you fear anything. But if you make it a shootout, they'll have a chance, right? So you really got to shut down Gibson. And again, you got to control the line of scrimmage, right? And shut down their run game. They don't run for too many yards, right? 105 yards a game. But right, if you allow them right to break some runs off and get them first downs, because right now they're 17 to 57 on third down, and that's what's really helping teams beat them is because they're getting off the field on third down from a defensive standpoint. And now that is one thing that we've done well, right? From a defensive standpoint, if there's one thing as a defense that Prairie View has done well so far, it is opponents' third down conversions, right? PV right now, 36% on third down, so 31 of 85 on third down. So we're doing a pretty good job, right, of really getting off the field on third downs, right? What was trouble this past game was fourth downs. We were there. I mean, you and Carter was 5 for 5 on fourth downs, right? So we stopped them on third down, but they picked up fourth downs. Now, I don't think UAPB is going to be as bold and believe in themselves as much as UIW, obviously. And so we can also have that same percentage. I think they were, I want to say 4 for 17 on third down or something. If we can have some percentage similar to that against UAPB, obviously I think we win this game as well because they're not going to have the ball as an offense enough in order to be able to win the game, right? And so, this game is going to be interesting, man. What do y'all? Let me know your thoughts. Kirk says I'm higher on Alcorn than he is. I definitely am, and I don't think I'm higher necessarily because of them per se. I'm higher because also I don't believe in Grambling or Southern or Texas Southern. I think that's the reality, right? You know what I'm saying? When I look at the lay of the land of all 5-6 teams in this side of the division, I don't believe in any of those teams, right? Texas Southern has lost a lot of pieces. Now, they were already kind of shaky. They had KJ Cooper. He's out. They got multiple pieces on the defense now that's out. So it's like, man, are they going to be able to just run and play an Alabama State style and win all these games? I can't see that, right? Southern, you're still shaking on them. They still trying to figure out their quarterback situation, right? They really didn't look good in the game against PV until really like the fourth quarter and then over the first drive overtime. I mean, that was just crazy, right? Like, I mean, we just gave them the game at the end of the day, right? But they haven't looked good against Jackson State. They really didn't look good against us 3 quarters. They didn't look good against Nichols at all. I mean, and then Grambling, I think Grambling just have lived on turnovers, and when they play any kind of even game, that you see that their offense is kind of stagnant and not as good as as you think it is, right? So I think with all that said, I think Alcorn has the most dynamic player out of all these teams in that quarterback, right? Xavier Vaughn. That's kind of why I put a little belief on him. You know what I'm saying? Santana remind him of that Arkansas game again. All right. Yes, a must win is an understatement, right? Because every game is a must win at this point going forward, right? We can't lose any games, can't afford to lose any game. And listen, I think Coach Bubba knows that, right? He's been on multiple shows saying the same thing. All right. So I think Coach Bubba understands that and knows that as well, right? It is definitely must win time. And so I'm super interested in seeing what this game is going to be. Again, if you want to call in and share your thoughts, 516-253-3434, 516-253-3434. Before we close out this evening. Again, I appreciate all y'all for jumping on, man, especially some of y'all who jumped back on later, because obviously I was trying to go live earlier. Life started lifing, and I couldn't get that done. So I do appreciate all of y'all for coming back on and chopping it up with me this evening. Again, want to remind all you guys, right, before we close out, that on Sundays, right, we got the recap show with Coach Heish Northern. So we're going to be recapping this UAPB game along with all the other, SWAC, MEAC, independent games, this weekend. Obviously, we got Southern Texas Southern. We got Alabama A&M, Bethune-Cookman, right? So we got a couple other, big games this weekend as well that's going to really help to determine things, Alcorn and Grambling in the whole. So it's going to be really interesting to see, what happens. Also, look at the MEAC and independent too. So with that being said, man, let me know in the comments what y'all got this score for this game. All right. Who y'all got taking it and what score you got for this game? Y'all let me know in the comments. Appreciate you, Jeff, for jumping on, showing love. Again, as I always say, and I always remind y'all, man, make sure y'all get with Jeff so y'all can have a place to watch these games from. Because some of y'all, like going to Buffalo Wild Wings because you ain't got no house and no TV. But listen, you need your own TV. You need your own house, all right? And my boy Jeff can help you, to get that together. So make sure y'all hit him up. But with that being said, man, go on, drop it in the comments. What's the score of this game? Edwin, you got Southern beating Texas Southern? Because I know you've been acting like you ain't worried about Texas Southern. What you got to score that game too as well? You know what I mean? So I truly believe Prairie View misses Lucas Cooley. The quarterback who is an actual quarterback, most highly rated of the three, meaning he was has the most upside. So I actually think so. Jaden Johnson coming out of high school actually was rated a 4-star, I believe, right? Now I know that was like years ago, but I believe coming out of high school, Jaden Johnson was actually a 4-star, right? So him and Lucas Cooley had the same rating. So yeah, so that's that. So both of them, right, were highly rated, coming out. Not just one of them, but it's either a 3-star or 4-star. I believe he's a 4-star though. I believe he's 4-star when he's coming out of Memphis in high school. So 28-10 PV, so 18-point victory. Okay, you think UAPB is only going to put up 10 points? Now I realize this UAPB last year. I know that they got a little chip on their shoulder because last year Prairie View gave up uno passing yards to UAPB. One passing yard. All right, set the record obviously for Prairie View in a game against an opponent, only giving up one passing yard. So I don't think that they're only going to have one passing yard this game. But it's going to be interesting to see. What I'm going to be checking for is how many receiving yards Giovanni Gibson has. That's going to tell me from a receiving standpoint how this game went, right? But Isaiah got it 28-10. Jared got it 35-20. All right, 35-20. Yeah, I have it more like Jared has it. I think that PV is going to put up a little bit more points. Yeah, I think PV is going to be able to put up some substantial points in this game, right? So I got it at 35. I got it at 35-21. You know what I'm saying? I think UAPB is going to score. You know what I'm saying? I think they're going to definitely put some points on the board. I think it'll probably be a little bit. I think it'll probably be a little bit close, a little early, but I think end of the second, going into the third quarter, there'll probably be a couple score separation. But yeah, I think PV is definitely going to be able to move the ball on this UAPB defense. And I think this is one game that they're really going to be to show, how dynamic some of these running backs are. We haven't really seen that this year. But I think this is probably the game that the offensive line is probably going to be happy to be able to go up against a defensive line that's not as stout as some of the other teams we've seen. I think a defensive line that they're going to have a chance to actually be able to win the trench battle against. And I think that's going to open up those holes for, McDowell, for Wisham, right? Chase Bingman, Scooter Adams, right? That we haven't really seen, previously. So you got 35-10, 35-30, 31. Toss up to, hey, listen, that would be ESPN wanted that way, all right? Because that would be a great game for them, for it to be a game like that. Say this may be the first game we see the tight ends play major role. Yeah, I think in a passing game, if there's any game, this might be the game, because I think this is a game where we're probably going to gash UAPB a little bit on the ground, and that's going to open up the ability for us to do a lot more in the air. I think these other games, the tight ends have had to stay in and block, because the reality is, right, we've needed assistance and needed help. I mean, Coach, if you listen to Coach Mickey Joseph this past Monday, he said the same exact thing, right? Graham, hey, we having trouble blocking guys. So we're probably going to have some more max protection. It's going to have to keep some tight ends in. I mean, that's what we've been doing over the last couple of weeks. And it's because, right, we've had trouble blocking it up front. And so hopefully that gets the job done. The craziest things happen during weekday games, but I think PV wins by 14 plus. Yeah, I don't like these weekday games. 28-10. All right. O-line has been hit or miss. No, O-line has been miss. All right. Miss is more accurate, right? Edwin says Southern certainly wins. I haven't actually seen TSU in a couple weeks, so I wasn't doing a score, but I give you Southern 24, Texas Southern 10. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think it's gonna be a low scoring game for sure. I don't see this game as high scoring at all. If any team does score 24 plus, I think it will be Southern, because I don't see Texas Southern scoring that much. But I think I have it 2017 Texas Southern. I think Texas Southern's gonna get this win, though. I really think they're gonna grind out a win this game. So with that being said, man, I don't got nobody calling in. So I guess none of y'all got no opinions to share, and y'all basically agree with everything that I said. All right. Because listen, I know my top 10 be spot on, right? And I know, hey, y'all saw the percentages, y'all saw the math. The math be mathing with the celebration bowl pie. All right. So I know that y'all saw that everything was right. But I do appreciate everybody for jumping on and for coming and share your thoughts again. Apologize for those who jumped on earlier, you know what I'm saying, because I was going to be coming on earlier, but couldn't get on. So with that being said, man, I appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all catch us on Sunday for the recap of all the games, and we're going to talk about it, man. So listen, we starting to build up now, because we really in SWAC season now. All right, we really in SWAC season now. So it's really time to step up or get shut down. So with that being said, man, I'll holler at y'all and see y'all next time.